Welcome to this Flipdish podcast. Today we're doing a staff spotlight and I'm joined by Laura Pearson. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
No problem at all. So tell us a little bit about what you do in Flipdish and maybe your career journey to this point. I know you're relatively new, but love to hear a little bit of your kind of backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the people partner here. I've been here 11 months, I think, today. So nearly a year already. So new, but it's been a long 11 months.
Feels like a long time.
Feels like a long time, but in a good way, in a really good way. Before Flipdish, I was in kind of an American tech company. That's where I started my career. Started there on the customer support team as a graduate when I finished college, and then ended up in the people team there, where I focused a lot on kind of employee experience. And then I joined Flipdish last year, as I said, as a people partner.
And how did you make that transition then from like customer support to people?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. So the graduate program that I was in was, the whole point of it was that you only did it for a year and then you moved to somewhere else in the business. So it was really this funnel of talent for the rest of the business. Cool. So I got into recruitment as a coordinator, and I did recruitment for, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 years. COVID happened in the middle of it. I did 7 months with our sales enablement team, and that's where I kind of got into the workshop facilitation side of things. Went back to recruitment. I was a university recruiter, which is very interesting because it was COVID, so all the campuses were closed. So I was doing campus events, but not on campus, which was
virtually
virtual campus events, which is cool because I got to do them across Europe, which is pretty cool. And then the role came up. They were only starting. They hadn't had like a traditional HR team before in the company that I was in, and the opportunity came up to help start that team. So I actually helped start that team along with 2 other people in the company at the time. And then we got a fourth. We got our EX coordinator, we called them. We were called EX partners there, employee experience partners. And so yeah, helped build that team, was part of that. And that's kind of, I guess, what led me into Flipdish. It was starting to be, that team was really starting to getting into its own flow after a couple of years. Wasn't as much building as before, and kind of really loved that building part of it. I got to build, the university recruiter role. I got to build the EX partner role. And so then when the opportunity for Flipdish came up, Maura and Jess promised me a lot of building, which it certainly has been, and, making new things and just being able to be creative. And that's, I guess, what kind of brought me to Flipdish then.
And to move into that role, was that what you studied in college? Was HR?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Why would I do that?
That would have benefited.
No. That would have made my life much easier because I could have got straight into HR. No. I
just winged it.
Yeah. So I did psychology for my undergrad. So I literally finished. I think I had finished my exams 2 weeks, hadn't graduated, and the company I joined was based in Utah in the US, and they flew me to Utah like literally 2 weeks after I graduated for my training as a customer support agent, which was what was done at the time. And so I spent 5 weeks out in Utah, then came back and then graduated college. And I kind of, what would happen there now if I didn't graduate? And they said, oh no, like it's, we trust you. But yeah, so I did psychology. And then when I moved into recruitment a couple of years later, I said I'd study part-time. So I studied a master's in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology, which is a mouthful. So wow. Okay. I did that when I was working then as well. So no HR, but a lot of psychology.
And then that you just found your way into it. And is that something you've thought about doing, something formal in that space, or are you happy with where you are now, or like what's the next kind of education thing for you?
I'd love to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to go do the formal, but I think, I've worked in the field for 6 years, nearly 7 years now. So it does get to the point where, there's not a lot else that a formal qualification could teach me.
Yeah.
So the next step in an education, I'm actually going to train to be a yoga teacher. So again, like massively avoiding actually studying HR.
Just keep pivoting away from HR.
But I think there's a lot to be learned from like actual experience. And like I've had the pleasure of working with really great managers, in my previous company and here. And like I think I learned so much more from the experience than I would by sitting in a classroom doing a master's or doing like a qualification. It's not to say that it would never happen, but I think the experience you learn day to day, and as I said, the strong leaders around me, I think that I just learned so much more from that.
There's a lot to be said for a great mentor or someone like that in your life, right?
Exactly.
To like I probably owe my entire career to two people, Caroline Kwan and Mary Donoghue, if you're watching.
Yeah.
Those two people shaped my learning journey into L&D, and they probably taught me more in 2 or 3 years together than I did a formal course in learning development, and realized that they'd covered almost all of that with me at some stage just on the job. And I think it sticks more then as well, right? Because you're applying it in the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. And I think like I've looked at all the courses and I've looked at the modules and I've looked at, I've actually kind of done all of that. So, you know, I would be doing it at this point, I think, to have the qualification.
Yeah, just have a piece of paper.
Just to have a piece of paper. And I did speak to Maura, my manager here, about it. And, you know, should I get some kind of a thing? But her response is, well, she's a solicitor by trade. She doesn't have, you know, and she's their head of people or a VP of people. So like, and I think it's different now that you don't necessarily need a formal qualification because you do get that experience. But having the psychology, I think, definitely helps when you're working with people. Yeah, especially the coaching side of it as well. When I'm working with managers, that really helps.
And do you find you get to apply a lot of those skills in your day-to-day here in Flipdish?
Certainly, yeah, definitely. I would say, particularly, I would say the most would be the coaching. Like I work a lot with managers, you know, one-to-one, and sometimes in quite tricky situations, sometimes in less tricky situations. But I think having that, the biggest thing I learned there was that active listening skill. And so being able to have that active listening, which I know it's probably like that probably would have come, but being able to have that and being able to help them, you know, the whole point of coaching is that people have the answers themselves. So being able to kind of get that out of them, like they already know what they want to do when they're coming to me with a problem. They just need someone to kind of bounce it off and to chalk it out and kind of let them know it's okay. And so I think that's been really helpful to have the psychology background.
I don't want to break any hearts here, but are you going full time with this yoga idea? Or,
no.
Like, if Mary or Maura and Jess are watching that,
they know it's
it's just a
it's just I've been doing yoga since I was in college, and so kind of did it when I was, you know, doing psychology, and I've been at it for like 10 years. Not to give you too much away as to my age, but I've been doing it for, you know, work backwards. But I've been doing it for like 10 years, and I just really want to explore it a little bit more. But no, it's not a full-time job by any way, shape, or form. Yeah,
it's a very saturated market at the moment as well. Isn't it? Like, there's a lot of and then there's obviously those people on YouTube who are so widely watched as well.
Exactly.
Girl with the dog I watch sometimes. I don't know if you know her. And she does. Her and her dog do yoga together, and you basically just watch her do that, and it's like she's hundreds of millions of views on her videos. I'm like,
the key there is the dog, I'd say.
That is the USP of that video. 100%.
Incredible.
So what did you feel when you moved from your previous business into Flipdish? Obviously very different size companies. What was kind of the most jarring part of that, or what stuck out to you most, like switching over to Flipdish?
I think there was two big things. Was number one, so I was coming from a company that was public and had recently gone private. And so like, again, like you said, very big company. The transparency levels of Flipdish honestly stunned me. There was a couple of times where I was like, are we allowed to be kind of saying that? Like, are we supposed to be telling them? You know, because it was just so different. Like my previous company, we'd gone through an IPO. We had been private, then public, then private again. So it was kind of a bit like you didn't really know, like you couldn't say a lot of things, and certainly not to the level as here. And so transparency was absolutely incredible. I thought it was brilliant. And then I guess the second thing with the companies being such different sizes, you know, the ability to take on employee feedback is kind of harder as you become bigger and as you become more structured. And so there's not a lot of room in that situation for like employee feedback to be kind of taken on board as much as it could be. So I really found that here, that, you know, if we launch something, you know, there is that opportunity for people to give feedback and to give their thoughts and to give their input. And it's actually taken on board, which I just find, you know, it's absolutely fantastic. And I don't think it's something we should take for granted here, is that the level of, you know, the opportunities for feedback, but then also like not just getting it, but actually acting on it. And I thought that was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, if you have 2,000 employees, it's very difficult to take, you know, a handful into consideration. But here, your voice is obviously way more valuable, which I love. Just even the engagement day that we did in London recently, where we were all flown to London for the day. You ran an amazing like workshop and facilitated a great day of working on how we can make the company a better place to work. Just to see the company investing in time like that, making sure people from all levels of the business are represented. That's something you just don't get in in other companies, right?
Exactly. It's something, it's certainly unique to Flipdish, I think, from my perspective. Like, I haven't even heard of other companies doing that. Never mind, we do that every 6 months, like, and that's the opportunity, and we create actions out of it. So it's absolutely incredible, like the level of care.
Yeah, I like the transparency. I like that we seek feedback as well.
Yeah.
It's like, that's important. I think that we're not kind of shying away from, I really love working here, but there's always things that can get better, and we want to know the things that can get better so that you can make improvements, right?
That's what I always say, is like, people will come to me with something and say, oh, this has been a problem for ages. I'm like, well, why did you not just tell us this has been a problem? Because we can't, especially in the offices. We're in Dublin, we're both in Dublin, we can see things pretty quickly, but like, we have other offices. We're lucky to have other locations across the world. Like, we have London, we have Karachi as our hubs, and then we have other remote employees too. We're not there day to day. We can't see what's going on in those offices. We don't know the ins and outs of it. So I think, the more we know about it, the more we can do to address what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find you guys very approachable. I like the way that we can work. I think there's a kind of an ethos, maybe that's part of the culture, where, even from the top down, obviously Connor and James are here now today with us, our CEO and co-founder. They're sitting at a desk over there. Connor rocked over to my desk earlier to ask me for help with something, which is just, I love that idea that everyone is accessible. If I want to tell Connor something about how I think the company is running, I can just rock over to him and do that if I want. So I think that level is also something you don't get in other companies.
I'd say, if I was to give you a third thing as to what kind of surprised me, like, obviously coming from my previous company of 5,000 employees globally, headquarters in the US, all the like C-suite in the US, very typical tech company. Have Connor sitting there, and to go for, like, I go for coffee with Connor every 2 months, go for coffee with James every 2 months. Like, sometimes we chat about the company, sometimes we shoot the breeze. Like, the amount of executive assistants I would have had to go through to even like say hello in my previous and like, not to say each works in its own way, but it is just incredible to literally sit like a couple of desks up from the CEO.
I think that's one of the nicest things about. Is there anything else about the culture that sticks out to you? Or, like, obviously you mentioned like the transparency and everything there. Anything else about the Flipdish culture that you think is kind of appealing?
Yeah, I would say, like, the people are here are absolutely incredible. Like, you could just come up and say hello to anyone, and you wouldn't be met with a cold shoulder. Like, you're you can just, no one is ever too busy. Everyone always has time for you. Everyone, and you can have the stupidest question in the world, and someone will answer for you, and you can know it's a stupid question, but like, everyone is very approachable, very friendly. We see it there. We just had the Tuesday, or we had lunch in the office all together, and you can talk to anyone about anything, and it's really, really nice.
I like that, because obviously our recruitment team are hiring certain types of people that they know are going to gel well with the culture, with the way we work. So there is although we're all very different, there is a kind of a Flipdish maybe thread between everyone, kind of tying people together, whether that's the work ethic or the pride in what we do or whatever it happens to be. But I feel like there's always something to connect with somebody on. Like you said, well, today's our first day back all back in the office, and there's 40 odd people in here at the moment. And I love the energy today. I felt properly energized by that. I don't know if you got that as well coming in.
Yeah, I think today, I was saying it to Hannah, our office manager there earlier, like, I think this is the first time I've been in a full office since I don't know when. Like, I think
pre-COVID.
Probably pre-COVID. Like, we did have, my previous company had a bit of that, but everyone was really spread out. So coming in today, having everybody in, we had the all hands this morning, which was the Q&A session, having people pass the mics around. Like, it was probably the most, I know we're kind of back to this post-COVID normality sort of world, but it was probably the most like pre-COVID normal that I have experienced in probably, I'd say, like, however long it's been, 5 years. Like,
the old normal, as we
the
used to
old
call it.
normal. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. The old normal. Honestly, it was really, and it's just fantastic. I didn't realize how much we missed it.
And how easy it is to get things done now as well. Like, I'm just shouting over my shoulder. The success team are sitting there. Shout over Colette. Colette, what about that meeting there? She goes, shouts back. Solved. That wasn't a Slack message, then a Google Meet, then like a 15-minute Google Meet where you have to do, it's just like, I've asked, the problem is solved. We're motoring now. Like, it's 10 seconds of fixing. So I think stuff like that. I know people schedules are upset and things like that can happen, but I think the benefits of being all together it feels like a real company and all that kind of stuff.
It really does. And the communication is easier in person, because, you go on the Google Meet and you have to do the hello, how was your weekend again? Like, and nearly which is lovely and like very important. And like, we have to, but it is that like forced interaction, whereas in the office, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can just walk up to somebody, which, for better or for worse, is there's one person in the office I've been talking to a lot today, and like she's a bit like, she saw me coming on the way to the podcast and she was like, oh, you're not looking for me again. No, it's all good.
But that's the great bit. You can get the like, how's your weekend stuff done at the start of the day when you come in. Then you don't have to break ice with people every single time you want to talk to them and things like that. Yeah, there's definitely that. I think I've really enjoyed this. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask you about, and probably why they felt so impactful. But obviously Flipdish has a pretty good social culture. You've obviously been here, 11 months now, which is amazing. Anything that stood out in that time that you really enjoyed from a social point of view outside of the office?
Oh, well, like, we're going to have to say Dish Live. Like, is there's no other right answer to that question, but Dish Live, that was my first Dish Live. Obviously, you had the customer event, which, I wasn't at, but by all accounts was a massive success, given it was the first of its kind. And then the next day we had the employee event, as you know, and like, again, like, it was a transparency at that. It was we got in a brilliant guest speaker in Colin Judge, and just incredible, like, to have that. And then obviously, like, I think we had the 90s band after, and like, but it's that, but it's, I was helping as part of the committee to organize that. So being involved in that, and like, there's no job that no one in Flipdish will do. Like, everyone will pitch in and do something. So like, even at that, I was given a hand, put the centerpieces on the table, put the centerpieces together. Like, it's that kind of, like, everyone just mucks in and like just gets stuff done. And like, so I love that. But yeah, Dish Live was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool to get, even like, it's the next evolution on, having 40 people back in the office, having your staff from all over the world fly in to like be there with you. And yeah, we did stuff during the day, which was great from a transparency. We saw how the company is performing. All that stuff is great. And then you just get downtime with people that you only ever have Google Meets with, and and it's important to build that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, you don't get time during these Google Meets or the Slack Hangouts or whatever it is. Like, you just don't get time to find out about people's lives outside of work. And so exactly, having those social events where we can all get together. It was the same with the offsite we had in London last week, getting to spend time with the people in the London office. Yeah. And get to know them a little bit better. And you just work better together, I think, when you know somebody.
100%. I think that takes away any kind of ambiguity around how a Slack message might be phrased or tone and things like that, right?
100%, because you can just say, oh, well, Laura's just like that.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, I do. Yeah. I do.
She doesn't mean anything by it when she sends me one word answers. Like, she's just like that.
Or all those angry emojis. Keep sending me. Raise a ticket key and it's a ticket. Stop slacking me. Sorry to the whole.
That has never happened for the record. Well, at least not with you, I don't think.
And then in your time in Flipdish, obviously 11 months in Flipdish years, that's like, or in normal years, that could be like 10 years. But anything you felt like a great achievement, either something the business did or something you did, something you're really proud of that you might have told someone outside of work about, like, hey, I did this thing in work.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was funny. So I have a friend, very good friend, Katie, who I go running with every week. We're going tonight. So she'll see me later on after this. Yeah, thanks. So I was saying to her, I was like, going to London for work in January. She said, what are you doing in London? And I said, well, look, sure, just facilitating like an employee engagement offsite. We're bringing a load of people together. The next day, I've facilitating a manager training. So I'm like, this manager training, like, what's the story with that? And I said, oh yeah, like, I just kind of came up with this manager training. And she was like, sat there. She was like, sorry, like, what are you saying? Like, this is mad. Like, you're going to London to facilitate two pretty big, impactful things back to back. And I honestly was sat there and I was like, yeah, but like, this is just like kind of normal life. But like, she's an accountant and,
not
like,
doing that, right?
Totally not her space. And she just was like, that is just incredible. And it is like, it really is to be able to do that. And it's definitely something, they're probably the two things I'm most proud of is the employee engagement work that we've done. When I was here, I think 2 months, and Mara said, okay, we need a new employee engagement system. So I ripped out the old one and put in the new one. Like, it was like 2 months, I think I was here doing that. So, being able to do all that work in employee engagement, and then, the manager side too. Now, not to say that we're even halfway done with either of those things, but I think we've made a pretty good start.
There's nothing like a big meaty project to make you forget you're a new hire, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, here's a thing that someone who's here 4 years probably could have done, but you give it a go there.
Yeah, I was like, I hadn't even worked with one before. And she goes, okay, yeah, now off you go and price. And which was absolutely incredible because I had, 2 months in, I had achieve something pretty decent straight out the gate. And like, that's, again, like I think I said it earlier, but just being so lucky to have like mentors like that in Maura and in Jess in the company has been made all the difference.
Yeah, like I don't work with Maura as closely, like obviously get on great with her in the office, but Jess for me has been absolutely incredible person to anytime I have any concerns or anything like that, to have someone at that level of the business that you can go to and you can have a conversation with, and she's always completely frank. There's no messing with her. It's like, this is how it is. And always, every time I leave a conversation with Jess, my mind is at ease about whatever it was that I wanted to talk to her about. And to have people in the business is so vital.
Absolutely.
I also wanted to say, I've obviously attended your manager training. Absolutely amazing. I was at the engagement session as well. You facilitated that like incredibly, like facilitation is kind of my space. So to watch somebody do it so much better than me, and to be able to be sitting there like taking notes on not just on what you're actually talking about, but on the way you delivered it and the way you did it, was such a great learning for me. So again, another reason why being back in person with people is so important, right?
Absolutely. And I tell you, the first 2 times I had to do that in person, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, but I was very nervous, if put it that way.
I like when you took whatever curse word you're going with there and put very
nervous.
It didn't come across that way anyway. Also, tell us the flip. What does it stand for? Because I keep forgetting, but it's genius. So you have to just tell the people.
So flip is the Flipdish Leadership Impact Program. When I say there is I was adamant I wasn't using ChatGPT for that. So I sat down, I genuinely pen and paper sat down, Flipdish, and I was like, what can I make that will fit into these letters? I think originally it was the Future Leadership Impact Program, and then I said, hang on here a second, now we actually have a word that begins
the beginning word of the I can see the crossword now. Actually, it's Flipdish this way.
You know, when you're looking for something for so long and your mind's you're going cross-eyed looking at it. Now, hang on a minute, we actually
sometimes you can do that, or you can overwork on something, and it's like, what's that? Is it Occam's razor or something? The simplest solution is always
exactly.
I hope that's the right thing. I've embarrassed myself. I've embarrassed myself on this. And so I think that's a really important thing. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about is, and I think this is something that I've kind of asked you about before, but obviously the facilitation comes so naturally to you. You're so good at it. Is it not something you've ever considered as a career choice to do, like, more full time?
Sometimes, like, honestly, and I get to do a lot of that here, and that was part of the reason why I left my previous company, was because my job there was becoming more focused on employee relations, which is part of HR, of course, and the people team, but I didn't want it to be my entire job, which is what it was going to become. And so when this opportunity came up here, and I could do the employee relations stuff, the performance management stuff, because I do like that stuff too, and like helping people perform, like building the high performing team, but also get to do a little bit of the facilitation and like making stuff up as I go along is basically what I do.
Don't let us see behind the magic. It looks so put together at the time. You've been spoofing.
No, I mean, this is we had an EX coordinator on my previous team who helped me run the new hire onboarding. I used to run onboarding for the new hires in my previous company, and she ran it with me. And I remember the first few times she was so nervous. And I just said to her, I said, they don't know. They don't know that what you're saying is not what you're meant to be saying. And like, that's kind of,
fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. They don't know.
Just believe your own propaganda. I love that. So if you were going to, if you had a friend who was looking for a job, and if they are, please, we have a good referral scheme. Please do send them on. But if you had a friend looking for a job, how would you promote Flipdish to them? Like, what would you say?
I would say that at Flipdish, you can basically be in charge of your own career. And I think that's obviously, I'm probably speaking really for my own role, but you can come in and you can say, hey, I want to start a podcast. And someone will probably go, yeah, okay.
Hey, I was told to do this. This wasn't even my call. I've just put here.
But like that kind of thing, like genuinely, that's how most of the stuff happened. Like, I think you can say, hey, I want to do a manager training program. I want to give this a go. Let's see how good. And you'll probably be told, work away. Do you know? And like, I think that's, you can really shape the role that you're in. You can shape your career. And I think that's like, if you're someone who is looking for that, then this is absolutely the spot to be.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things for motivated people. I always say, like, some of my friends have said, oh, what's Flipdish like? I'm like, it's not for everybody, but if you're the type of person who wants to put in work and wants to develop your career, it is the place. I always say it's not the place if you're like a 9-to-5er who just switches off the brain at 5 o'clock and that's it. It's probably not, like, you can work here, that's fine, but like it probably won't be somewhere that you'll thrive. But I think if you want to go above and beyond and really develop your own career and take the bull by the horns and do that, then I would say, and I have a couple of people that always come to mind where like that person would really thrive in this environment. I don't know if you've kind of seen that as well, as people come in and they just go, right, I'm gonna, we've obviously had a couple of new great sales guys start who've smashed targets in their first month, and it's just amazing to see. Those are the type of people that you're like, yeah, that's a Flipdish person right there.
Absolutely. And I think at Flipdish, it's yours for the taking. So like if you're someone who's willing, exactly what you said, willing to put in the work and willing to just go out there and take it, then this is absolutely the place. And
I love that the company will find, if you have a skill that they think is beneficial to the business, they'll let you utilize that skill as well. So like whether it be, obviously I got involved in Dish Live as well, doing sound at Dish Live. I'm a trained sound engineer from a previous life that I lived. And like, they're like, wait, Cian can do that for us. I love doing that. That kind of scratches a creative itch for me as well.
Exactly.
And they nurture the fact that I have a couple of other skill sets outside of product education that I could use to help the company. And I just love that I'm not like pigeonholed into that's all Cian can do. Like,
it's a thing we studied when I was in the positive psychology. It's a thing called like job crafting. And it's essentially like, sometimes maybe you have or haven't, but like if you find yourself in a job that you just don't like anymore, you've gotten bored of, where it's very repetitive, it's this idea of like bringing in stuff that you enjoy into the job and like crafting it, like, for literally lack of a better phrase. But I think there is a lot of job crafting that goes on in Flipdish, and I think that's why people are so engaged. And we saw that from the previous employee engagement results as well. Like the engagement levels are very decent for, and they've increased even since August, which is even better. Yeah,
which obviously through you guys taking actually some actions on the feedback that you get, which is so nice to see. But you're right, it means that no day is like the same. You probably haven't found that in 11 months. I very rarely find that in the 4.5 years I'm here now. I just have it like, because I think of maybe subconscious job crafting, as you said there, just bringing in other elements. Like even today, I've obviously get to sit down with you. I've sat down with customers and had great conversations today, on top of also having a training session with a bunch of people earlier on how our portal works. So like original job, new stuff, just keeping the brain kind of like active and engaged.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, yeah, I wanted to just thank you so much for coming to talk to us, because I know you are crazy busy with what you do, as a lot of us are in here. So yeah, really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Cian. Thanks for having me.
No problem.